You're listening to the Breakaway Breakdown podcast, where we bring you interviews with some of the top ropers in the country, news about what's going on in the fastest sport on dirt, training tips for you and your horses, and so much more. I'm your host, Casey Allen. Let's jump in. All right, you guys, I am so excited you're joining me for my first full episode of the Breakaway Breakdown podcast. Today, I sat down with Lindsay Sumpter, and if you guys haven't heard of her, you are about to learn so much from her. She is one of our BreakawayRoping.com coaches. She's an amazing wife, mother, competitor, trainer, and she's the head coach at Otero Community College. Lindsay is not an easy person to keep up with. She is one of the most energetic and passionate people I have ever met, and she's one of my personal idols. So I am just so excited to share this episode with you guys. I think you're going to learn a lot. We cover everything from her background to a very exciting new career move that she's making, to training horses, and she has some great tips. And then we just get really into some great life advice that I think is going to help you guys inside and outside of the arena. I also want to mention that this episode is brought to you by Equinety, which is one of my favorite supplements, and I can't wait to tell you guys more about that at the commercial break. So let's jump in. Here we go. All right, hello everybody. I am so glad you're joining me for my first official episode with the Breakaway Breakdown. I am so excited to introduce our first guest today. She is somebody that I have looked up to a ton. I've watched her videos on BreakawayRoping.com. Hopefully you guys have too. She's a mom. She's just an all-around amazing person. I'm here with Lindsay Sumpter. And Lindsay, I'm going to let you take it away and tell your story and who you are, because you talk about you better than I do.
Oh gosh, thank you. Hi everybody. I am Lindsay Sumpter. Like Casey said, I'm a mother of two wild little boys that are 8 and 5. I am the head rodeo coach at Otero College in Lahana, Colorado. But in my previous life, I was born and raised in Northern California, in Wheatland, California, Marysville area, and kind of grew up with rodeo by genetic default, honestly. My grandfather is Cotton Rosser. He's a Hall of Fame professional rodeo stock contractor, and he's kind of one of the living legends in the business. He's 93 years old, still rides, still goes to the rodeos, and still is very hands-on, and we're very lucky to have him still. And rodeoing and growing up in the business, I didn't necessarily start competing until I was about 13, but before that I trick rode and carried the American flag at the National Finals Rodeo when I was 6. Have been kind of in the production side and the pageantry of rodeo my entire life, and had some really great teachers, and I was very lucky to have awesome coaches growing up, and really, kind of got a passion for learning and a passion for breaking things down and seeing how to make those, how to get better at the sport, and really focused and honed in on that. I played all sports growing up, and then when I got into high school, I just, the only thing I cared about was rodeo. So had some success in California high school rodeo in our district. We were districts, and had some state titles my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and went to the high school finals, and got lucky and got into California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo. I was really blessed to be able to go to college there and rodeo there, and made the college national finals in the breakaway roping for the Mustangs, and graduated, thank God, from college, and went to work for the professional bull riders, and I did PR and marketing with the Built for Tough series, and what an experience to learn from Randy Bernard and Sean Gleason there at the professional bull riders, and made my way to Colorado when I took that job. My husband is Wade Sumpter. He's a 6-time national finals rodeo steer wrestler, and he's had a lot of success with the steer wrestling horses. He's had 3 AQHA, PRCA horses of the year, so we really like horses here, and since I've been here in Colorado, kind of always trained horses and rode horses on the side. And in 2009, we got married in May, and I started coaching in June at Otero College, and I've been a head coach this is my 13th season. So I figured I've had about 300 student athletes come through the program, and that's not counting any high school kids that have come through and learned a rope here. And we just have a cool little place in Fowler, Colorado, and trained some horses, and was lucky that the horse that Sawyer Gilbert won the world on came from me, and the horse that Cheyenne Guillory rode at the NFR this last year came from me. So I had 2 horses at the NFR last year, so it was pretty exciting for me, honestly.
Yeah, so like you were talking about before, not only are you an outstanding roper yourself, you've trained so many outstanding ropers and horses. Talk to me how you transitioned from working kind of on the corporate side of rodeo with greats like Randy Bernard, and then transitioning over to wanting to share your abilities and pass that on to the next generation and be a coach.
Well, it only made it better, honestly. I had always given lessons in high school and did clinics in high school and college, to kind of help pay the bills when you're in college. And so I had always done it, and I never really stopped. When I moved to Colorado, a lot of the local families here in town, they knew that Wade's girlfriend was a roper, fiance at that point. And so they're, hey, will you help? And, I'm kind of the generation of women, and we've all heard it, is that when I graduated from college, roping was at least breakaway roping was kind of over. Yeah, there was a few amateur rodeos on the West Coast that you could go to, but there really wasn't a lot of breakaway ropings. I didn't live in Texas, and I didn't live, in the mecca of roping. So I kind of slowed down my roping when I graduated from college and just went to training barrel horses, because that was the only way I could stay involved in the sport. Really the sport is kind of what brings it all together. So when I went to the PBR, I learned the other side of it. I learned, when I was probably 15 years old, I spoke in front of the state legislature in California regarding an animal rights kind of veterinary bill. And I've always spoken in front of crowds. It was just, it just kind of goes hand in hand. When you're in the rodeo business, you have to talk to animal rights activists. You have to do all these things. But then when I went to the professional bull riders, I got it on the corporate level. I learned how to write, or better my writing skills and better my articulation to how to break the sport down, because you have to speak to people in New York City who don't know anything about bull riding or didn't know anything about the sport of rodeo anyway. So really I took that knowledge that I gained from the corporate world that is so fast paced and there's just a lot. There's so much more to that side of the sport, and just to help with my recruiting, to help explain, the opportunity. I always use the word opportunity to my student athletes, that I've done this. I've won X, I've won Z. I deserve, a full ride scholarship. Okay. Can you guarantee me that? Well, no, nobody can, right? But I, as a coach, can guarantee you an opportunity to get an education, and I can guarantee you an opportunity to learn, not only from myself, but I bring people in. I have Wade, who's an NFR guy. There's been JD Yates. There's a lot of NFR guys kind of in our area. I bring people in. And so I'm going to guarantee you an opportunity to learn, and I'm going to guarantee you an opportunity at an education, which is education is the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you. So, you learn to find the things that in that corporate world that stand out, kind of like your hot topics or your hit words that were like, oh, I never thought of that, So that's kind of how I kind of played it all in together, is the things that I learned from, like how you articulate what you're trying to, promote or to sell. Or really, coaching is sales. Nobody wants to come hang out and Southeast Colorado, Little House on the Prairie, when you could go to school in San Luis Obispo, California, 11 miles from the ocean, right? Like, that's a selling point. San Luis Obispo is a beautiful place in the world, right? It's a destination. Southeast Colorado, La Junta, we got 2 sale barns. They sell, thousands of head of cattle every week. But other than that, we're not John Denver, Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. We're Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls style Colorado. So, you got to try to sell where you're at. And that's a lot of what I learned.
Yeah, you just have to get creative with it. Like, oh, if you come out here, you're coming to learn about rodeo and focus on that. You won't have any beach distractions or anything.
Right, yeah, you don't have to go surfing. It's okay.
But I feel like that's...
It never gets hotter than 80 and it never gets colder than 50, so...
No, but I feel like, that's anything in rodeo. You put yourself in situations and you grow as much as you let yourself grow. So if somebody wants to go to Southeast Colorado, like you and I were talking about, you might not have the opportunities to get the reps in like you will somewhere else, but maybe that's the time you need to be pushing, roping the dummy, trying different things and focusing on getting better no matter where you're at.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, we talked about reps, and that's competition. I live in Colorado, but we can dang near rope every day outside. Like, we don't have a barn, but I don't need one. I'm Sally. Like, I am not a winter wonderland lover of those things. I don't really like the mountains. I don't really like snow. And so I always tell people, like, if I can live here, anybody can live here, because, I don't really like to be that cold, but Southeast Colorado will offer you less and give you more. It's a great place, and it's a great place to rodeo out of. You can get anywhere here in just about 10 hours. Billings, Montana, Arizona, Stephenville, Texas. Like, it's kind of a cool little place to be, and it's pretty convenient to get places, and it's a great place, and I love it, and I'm lucky that the way that the stars aligned with the way that I grew up, and then the PBR, the opportunity I had with them, and then Wade being here, and it's just been it's a great place to raise a family and to send your kid to go to college and all those things. So
I want to switch gears a little bit. Not only is Lindsay an amazing coach, roper, mother, she does it all. She is going to step into a new role, and I'm so excited that this is going to air during Women's History Month because I feel like it fits so well. Lindsay is going to be taking over as the commissioner for the WRWC, which is the Women's Rodeo World Championship, and congratulations on securing that role. And can you just tell me what that role means, what you'll be doing, and what that means for women in rodeo?
It's awesome. I'm excited. I've been holding this in for a while. It's been in kind of morphing and coming to fruition since about November of 21. So it's finally going to come out and be public. And I'm so excited to be part of this journey, honestly. I think it's time. It's time for women. It's time for women in rodeo, and who better to partner with than the professional bull riders and the WRCA for what they have done. I was at Cheyenne the first year they had Breakaway and made the short round. They were the first rodeo to kind of have big rodeo to add it. But the WRCA was the first one to add equal money at all of their main events, right? We watched Jackie win $50,000.
Was that in Chicago?
I believe it was in Chicago. That was amazing. And they were the kind of the and I think that people kind of forget it because rodeo, on the mainstream has kind of started to accept breakaway roping, but the WRCA was the first people to do it. And now that we're, the PBR and WRCA has taken on this Women's Rodeo World Championship, and this will be our third year. It's only going to go up for here. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm excited, and it's cool. And really, it came to kind of fruition. I had gone to both events. The first one was in Fort Worth at Will Rogers, when we kind of got the scuttle that they were going to add $750,000 at one women's rodeo event, right? And they were going to add equal money in the team roping and the barrel race and the breakaway and $750,000. If you told me I could go to one rodeo and they were going to add $750,000, how do you say no, right? Like, that's a lot of added money. We've driven a lot further for a lot less.
Right.
So I went to that, and then they have it again in Vegas, and it goes in October in Vegas, and it's kind of during the PBR finals. And I had, I've been involved in the business for a long time, and Scott Davis and I have been friends for years, and I know Bobby Moat to say hello and visit because he rodeoed professionally, and obviously, we're Flying U Rodeo Company and see him at a lot of rodeos, and I've secretaried and timed and helped produce and all of those things. So I've had a hand in a lot of different elements that go into rodeo, and I had called them just kind of like, hey, I think what you guys are doing is amazing. And it's awesome. And these are just a few little things that I see, that I hear, that I don't want this to stop, right? I don't want this event to go away. I don't want the Women's Rodeo World Championship to go away. So I'm going to try to help you just as a competitor to say, like, hey, here's a few little things that I see that might be beneficial. So that's kind of how it came, very organically, how me being part of this event started. And prior working to Sean Gleason, Sean and I had spoke a little bit, about the event and what I thought and how, we can make it better. And Sean is excited and eager and has a daughter that's learning to rope and wanting to be part of women rodeo as well. So, it really just started out as a competitor relationship, and I was just trying to help to, like, hey, we need a woman voice in this deal. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, I am, actually. I kind of had to think about it for like 10 seconds.
A whole 10 seconds.
A whole 10 seconds. Like, are you interested in helping grow the sport? Yeah, I'm super interested in helping to make it better for women in our industry. This is a long time coming. I'm one of the generation of women that had to put their rope can away, and then I'm one of the generation now that has knocked the dust off our rope can and came back. So if I can help bridge a gap that's never going to happen again, of course I want to be part of it. This sport has given my family and myself so much. All I want to do is make it better. I don't have a daughter. Eventually I'll probably have a daughter-in-law in a long time from now, and I want them to be able to have opportunity and never think that it wasn't there for them. So it's pretty awesome, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I was at the first WRWC in 2020. I went in the barrels on the leaderboard and was a fast track qualifier in the breakaway. And I didn't do any good when I was out there, but I just remember, like, the whole week, it was like I kept getting chills, and it was so surreal to watch because I was like, we're a part of history. Like, women have never competed for this much money before, and I forget who won the team roping with Hope Thompson that year, but watching them cash that $60,000 check in AT&T Stadium, it was just like, me being one of the younger people that, because of Trailblazers, never had to put my rope can away, and I've got to see the sport accelerate throughout my lifetime. It just has been really, really fun to watch, and I think it's such a testament to your character and your drive that you stepped up and you saw a need and you offered your input, and it landed you this great role. And I think that's something that young girls can learn, like, hey, speak up. If you see something good or something bad, like, jump in and, like, don't be afraid to help, because it could turn into a really great opportunity.
Right. And, like I said before, like, if you don't gripe, okay, I haven't said it to you, but don't gripe about things if you're not willing to help. And I tell people all the time, you should not be allowed to enter a rodeo if you have never helped produce one, because it's not easy, right? It's not an easy job. And it's easy as a competitor to show up and be like, these guys, they don't care, they don't do this. You know how many hours it takes to set the arena, to get your sponsors, to get your stock contractors, and sometimes life happens, and maybe a set of cattle got sick and another set had to come and they're not as good, and you have to be malleable in this business, and if you've never been behind the scenes in producing, I don't even care if it's a little $35 barrel racing jackpot. If you've never done that, then you don't get to gripe. And if you want to make it better, then step up to the plate. And so, I want to help the sport, and I want to help women in rodeo. And I've watched girls come through my program that, maybe didn't know that this could be a dream. You could go to one event. You could go to, this is the coolest part about it, right? So the Women's Rodeo World Championship, you can stay in your area, right? Geographically, I live in a place where there's not a lot of ropings. There's girl races, weekly girl races, but those are a little easier to put on. But there's about 2 a month that I can go in an hour and a half radius here in the Breakaway Roping. I can stay here. I can nominate these ropings, and I can get on the leaderboard, and I can get qualified, and I can get a chance to compete in the breakaway roping or the team roping and the heading and the heeling for $180,000, give or take, an event. And I don't necessarily have to leave my backyard, right? How cool is that? Just saying it like that, you're like, what? I didn't know that. And that's what I want everybody to know. I want people to know that there's a woman that is a great lady. She was a past Miss Rodeo America in the 70s and just retired from the college that I'm at, and she started roping again. And I want her to know that she could have a chance to go to this. Just go into the jackpot that she already goes to anyways. She nominates online, uses the app, pays a little bit of money, and it's not a crazy amount, and can get a chance to get in a leaderboard and compete in the challenger and not the pro, and compete against people at her abilities, right? At her level. So there's just so many opportunities, and they're so forward thinking that it's just going to help. And I'm excited to just, be part of it, to try to help grow the sport. And because if we don't grow the sport, eventually it's not really it's a glamorous life, but it's a hard life, right? We get in the truck and we put our horse in the back, and then we drive 7 hours or 6 hours, and we give him a drink of water, and then we drive another 7 hours, right? And then we get there in the middle of the night, we don't shower, we put a ball cap on, we get up at 7 in the morning, we feed our horse, and then we rope at 10, or we run barrels at 10, and then we get in the truck and we do the same thing. If you tell people that, it's like, you guys are insane. You eat truck stop food and cheeseburgers and French fries everywhere you go. Every once in a while you get a steak if you get to stay longer than 12 hours.
If you win enough, you get a steak.
If you win, you get a steak. But then we keep going, and that's not a life for everybody. But if you look at what the WRWC gives you an opportunity to do, you don't have to do that, and you could still go and compete. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And that's another thing I wanted to talk about, too. You kind of mentioned the pro and challenger divisions. Can you explain that to everybody listening? Because a lot of people, I think a lot of people are kind of nervous about the WRWC because they just don't understand how it works. But talk about the pro and challenger and what else is going on to kind of help people get into it at different levels.
For sure. So they are developing... Well, it's already done. There's the pro division and the challenger division. So a pro, and I have to look at the exact numbers, in the barrel racing is less than $20,000 the year prior, and maybe less than $100,000 in your lifetime earnings. And I don't quote me on that, and I need to make sure it's 100%. But
I think you're on track with that.
Yes. And in the breakaway, and it is $6,000 the year prior, and I believe it's $20,000 for your lifetime earnings. And so if you're less than $6,000 a year prior and less than $20,000 in your lifetime earnings, then you're a challenger. Once you hit that $6,000 mark, you will move into the pro division, and we're doing analysis on these ropers, because really the the WRCA is putting together the programming for all of this. Like, how cool is that, right?
Yeah, you guys are reshaping the industry with this. I mean, we have the number system in the team roping already, but applying it to other events is pretty cool.
Exactly. So, and then in the team roping, if you're a number 5 header or heeler and lower, then you're a challenger, and if you're above a 5, then you're a pro. So, when you go to the Women's Rodeo World Championship in Fort Worth in May, and if you qualify in the top 20, you only compete in the initial rounds, in the first few rounds, against your challenger pool or your professional tour pool if you're in the pro tour or pool, right? And then at the very end, for the big money, you kind of like almost funnel your way to the end when you get to the final round. Then everybody competes as one to become a world champion. Now, the only other association other than the WRWC that gives a bonus to their all-around champion, to their world champions, is the professional bull riders. You're going to get a $5,000 cash bonus if you win the world in the challenger. If you win the world, I mean, they each are going to have their own world champion, and then, champion, and then at the end, then we have the world champion in the breakaway, or the world champion in the heading, or the world champion in the barrel race. So when you come in, you do your athlete profile, you answer some questions, you work with, all of the people, all the great staff, and kind of see where you're at. If you're just starting, if you're just dusting your rope can off, come back and say, when was the last time you roped? Well, I haven't roped since I graduated from high school. Okay, so, have you won less than $20,000 in the breakaway? Guaranteed I have not, right? So, and then you get deemed in the challenger pool. So that's kind of how and that works. And then, in the barrel race, it can change so much because of the equistats that I've done on horses. They don't necessarily follow the riders. So we're really working on following, rider standings as well.
Awesome. And I'm sure you can't share all of the secrets, but is there anything that we can be excited for in the next year or so with the WRWC, or anything fun in the works?
Well, there's some stuff coming, and that will all come in all in good time. But really, we're working on putting together a competition committee so that there's more voice for everyone. Women on the women's side. Team ropers, breakaway ropers, and barrel racers, all on a competition committee to make sure that we're all, in line with what we want as competitors, with what we, and that's the biggest thing. What the PBR and the WRCA have done is built this event, the Women's Rodeo World Championship, to benefit women. So women need to have kind of a say in some of the stuff that's going on. So we're building a competition committee, and we're looking at trying to just build the event up to be bigger. Just think about this, that last year on Halloween we aired the finals from the 2021 event. There was 2.3 million viewers on network television, not a cable show, not a cable channel. Network television. So if you had rabbit ears and you don't even have cable or you don't have Hulu, Netflix, whatever, you don't have anything. You have the little tiny little rabbit ears like we had when we were little kids, and you turn on CBS on Halloween Day, there was 2.3 million viewers that watched women in rodeo at this event get the opportunity at 750,000. That's amazing, right? That's numbers that aren't heard of. No one else besides the PBR and the WRCA have done that for women in rodeo. So, how do you not get excited about that? 2.3 million people watched Maddie Uthier win the breakaway. Watched Larry D and Jimmy Joe win the team ribbon. Like, two veterans who have just grinded it out for years trying to make a living with rope, right? Like, that's amazing. 2.3 million people watched that. And and it's only going to get better from here. And that's the exciting part, is that we're just going to try to make it better for women in rodeo, and so that when there's a little girl, they can say, I want to be the WRWC world champ.
I just get goosebumps thinking about it. I mean, Women's History Month, we are living right in the middle of history for women in rodeo. And just like you mentioned, watching, Madison Uthier at 19 years old winning that kind of money, and then, Larry D and Jimmy Joe that are veterans. I mean, it's such an exciting time. And, I do want to talk about, too, as you mentioned before, that you've trained horses that went to the NFBR. I mean, not only are you a coach and a competitor, but you've seen it from the horse training side, too. And this is the Breakaway Breakdown podcast. So I just want to talk about you as a trainer and what you've learned training horses that have gone on to do really big things.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. I've always rode really young horses, and the horse that I ride now that I compete on, he's probably the first horse that I'm probably not going to sell. And the reason is my 5-year-old, he says it's his horse, and that's the only horse he really likes to ride. So that horse he's got his place here at the barn forever. So it's been an awesome experience. The sport has changed. Okay, so, when I was in college, you were doing work when you were 1.9 and 2 flat. Like, you made some great runs. Well, now, Sawyer on the sorrel mare, she called her Hollywood, but when we had her, we called her Chevy, was 1.4 at Northside. Like, what? That's crazy, right? Isn't that the world record with Sawyer? And I'm like, so the sport has changed, so you almost have to adapt the horses to do some different things and train them in different ways. So I have picked up a lot of knowledge from Wade, in that the start in the breakaway and the start in the bulldogging is very similar. If you miss the start, you've not doomed your run, but you're going to have to make up some things with your rope. The bulldogging's the same way. You can't miss the start. So I learned a lot about really how to get horses to lead flat and fast off the corner. But the kicker part of the breakaway is that you have to adjust a horse for the circumstance. So if you're at Cheyenne and the start's 20 feet ahead of you, you got a horse that's going to sit solid and pick cattle up kind of way out in front of them. If you're at Northside, it's a really fast start, and you have to have a horse that you can almost float across the line. And so when I say float, that means like they kind of trickle. They don't hit one big stride and get across it. They're going to kind of shuffle their feet a little bit and let you almost pull on them, so that when you deliver about when the neck rope is coming off, that they're not at a full run and they're almost already stopping. So the sport has adapted, and we've had to adapt horses to be very versatile when it comes to the start. The biggest kicker is that it doesn't matter, is you got to have a horse that's got a lot of run, that's got stop, and it's got a lot of cow. And they still have to be really good in the box and give you a chance to get the best start, because it's all won and lost in the start.
Hey guys, so this episode is brought to you by the great folks over at Equinety. Equinety is one of my favorite companies, and I use the products for my breakaway horses. Equinety Horse XL is 100% pure amino acid supplement. There's nothing added that your horse doesn't need. It can help improve their muscles. It can help them recover faster after workouts. It helps improve collagen, so your horse can have healthier coat and bones. And it maximizes your performance because it helps cells regenerate at a faster rate. That means fast recovery for those fast twitch muscles that you need to explode out of the box and stop hard at the end of a run. They also have Equinety Ultimate OEC, and I love this supplement. I didn't think Equinety could get any better until I started using it. It has flaxseed-based omega-3 oil, natural vitamin E, and colloidal silver. It can help support your horse's cardiovascular health, their joint health, gastric health, and it increases their immune support. So if you're traveling up and down the road a lot, that's something that's super important for your horse. Visit teamequinety.com to learn more about these supplements and see how you can get some for yourself. So as a trainer, how do you work with those horses to be able to handle different starts? Like, what are some tips and tricks that you've learned to teach that diversity?
Yeah, and everybody's different, and what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, or I think that you can learn from anyone, and adapt certain things to fit different horses and all of that. So I do a lot of walk scoring. I do a lot of scoring backing up. I do, I really make sure that my horses aren't leaving off the bang of the chute. So kind of get them to where they're listening to my hand and leaving off of my hand and the pressure that I give. So, and some of those things you can teach a horse to do not in the box. So if I'm holding the reins and I drop the reins, I'm going to teach the cue of the drop of the reins to move forward. Now, not running off, obviously, when I'm hanging out, but I'll hold a horse and drop so that when they feel the drop, they have forward momentum. I always say there's only two directions in the box, forwards and backwards, because when you start to do a lot of spinning or turning around in the box, I want their horse's first pressure of release is to be forward, because if a horse leaks forward, then I can pull. If their release is to spin out, which I hope everybody understands what I mean when I say that, that means they're in the corner and they get stressed and they just kick a hip and spin out. If they spin out and I maybe nod, the run's over, right? Like I'm toast. But if the horse leaks forward in the middle of my nod, I can still pull, and I can still maybe get out of the barrier and make a run still continue to happen. So I really try to make a horse kind of two-dimensional in there. I give their release as forwards and backwards instead of a big turnaround. But that's kind of what works for me and in my training. And I'm lucky. I live in big country. I can hit a trot and go for 15 miles and they can be tired. Using a horse really helps the horse. And I'm very lucky with the college, with Otero College, and letting me have a lot of horses around there. Because, realistically, as the coach, you need to have horses there. Every day I head, every day I heel. I have pickup horses. My horses are there to get used. So they get saddled at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they hang out in the trailer. I give them a drink of water about lunchtime, and we start practice at 1. And we're not done till 5:30 in the evening. I drive my 45-minute drive home, and they get unsaddled at home. That's a long day. And so horses are awesome, and they're pets, and I love them. And I probably am. I'm a 6-foot barrel racer wrapped up in a breakaway roper's body, right? I just got back from Arizona yesterday, and I had my shipping boots on and my easy ride, my easy boots, and they have shavings, and they have, all the things in the trailer, and you unload them, and you would think they're back on track. You know what I mean? Like, you'd think I was a barrel racer, but really I'm a roper, and I do that for all my horses. And, you got to take care of them, but they're still, genetically, they're built to use. That's what they're supposed to do. They're built to pull plows and work cattle and do all those things. So people, I think, sometimes forget that and take maybe too good a care of them and treat them like pets instead of animals that are built to use. So I'm very lucky that I have the opportunity to, if a horse, if I think they need a day of cowboying, and Wade's going to a branding or going to gather cattle and do some yearling work, they get to go get used, and that's a good tool in your arsenal.
Well, especially now with all the incentives and stuff, we're breeding so many high-powered horses to do breakaway, and I think you're right. A lot of people, they want to use calming pace, or we see it in the barrel racing a lot too. Everybody wants a fix instead of using the horse, but how important is that with these horses that are bred to work?
Oh, it's huge, because their brains are, a good old draft horse that's built to pull a plow, right? They're pretty docile creatures. Well, we are breeding the top quality mares to the top quality studs that have really, really good brains, right? They have been trained to cut, or trained to do reining cow horse, or trained to run the barrels and run and all of those things. So you put these high-powered brains into these horses, and they can't turn them off. And so, and not that you need to, I'm not saying abuse one, but a good day's work is what anybody needs. It's no different than your child who's 4 years old that's going crazy in the house, stir crazy. It's all stir crazy. If you turn them out, your kid that you gave birth to, and you let them go play in the yard, they come back and they get tired, right? And they're like, whew. And then you can handle them, and you don't want to, like, maybe have a mommy breakdown. Right?
It gets their brains out of their way.
It gets their brains out of their way. And horses and puppies, I mean, you name it, nobody's different. They have too much energy to burn, and we feed them great, and they get Renew Gold, and they get high quality alfalfa, and they're getting Equinety, and they're getting all these things. I mean, they get fed better than we do. And then we expect them to stand in a pen of, or a 12 by 24 half covered stall and get rode once a day. And when they get out, they get roped on, and we expect them to be perfect little angels. Well, guess what? They're like, let's go, man. Let's do something. They want to work too. Well, they can't because their brain's going too hard. So I think that I'm very lucky that I grew up in a ranching background and a rodeo background, that a horse is here to help assist in our jobs and their tools, but they're still, we still care and love them and their pets, but they have to be used, and it only makes for better horses.
Awesome. And okay, so one more thing, I've asked you a lot today, but one thing that I want to start asking all of the guests on the Breakaway Breakdown is two things, two-part question. What is the best piece of life advice you have ever been given, just in general? And what is the best piece of roping advice you've ever been given? And those could be the same things, inside and outside of the arena, or different, but I'd just love to know those two things, if you have anything that comes to mind.
I'm going to go with roping first, because life is bigger than roping. So I'm going to do my roping advice first, and then we'll go to life, because life has a lot of different elements in it. But on the roping side of things, remember that this is fun, and we're lucky. And remember the blessing that it is to be able to live in this industry, in this Western way of life. And roping is just an added bonus to it, and have a short memory. It's easy to get in a slump, and to get down, and to get sour. But if you take a step back and you look, I just got to go to Arizona. I just got to move from Florida to Stephenville, Texas. Right? Like, what? That's awesome. I just got to go to college on a roping scholarship. Maybe my roping's not where I want it to be. Maybe it's going to get better. Maybe I'm in a slump. Maybe I haven't got a time, or I keep breaking the barrier. But, I get to rope another one tomorrow. Remember that there's always going to be another calf, and that you got to have a short memory, and always just know that it's a great opportunity, and just go at them. Just take each run for what it is, each run at a time. Maybe you drew a really strong calf and you made a great run, and you're not going to get a check at that rodeo, but you made a great run. Your horse worked great. Take the positives out of every run and let the negative stuff go. Because if you keep honing in on the negative stuff, I'm a big manifestation person, right? Like if I put it in the universe, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, boy, then we had a good time trying to get it to that level, right? So if we have a short-term memory and really just count the blessings that roping gives us, and that we have the opportunity to do it, then it's gonna be a fruitful life, right? So on the life advice, if someone gives you an opportunity, take it. If you get a chance, take it. Like, I know that's the song, but...
It's like, is the Cody Johnson song coming on?
Right,
I'm here for it.
Because here's the thing, like, we can all sit back and, you know, kind of like, oh, I don't know, but I have some, I'll just use, you know, because coaching has been a part of my life for 13 years. I tell college kids, if there's a unit, I'm a junior college, right? So you take your first 2 years with me and transfer and go get a bachelor's degree. If there's a university that's willing to give you $100 scholarship, and they're willing to give you a chance to get a bachelor's degree, go to them. Granted, you can stay here. You can stay at a junior college and get another associate's or get another, you know, certificate program or whatever. But if you get a chance to get a bachelor's, go ahead and do it, because you're going to be in school either way. And it might cost you a little bit more, but the education is one thing that nobody can take away from you. So if an opportunity is given and it fits, go. You know, take the leap, move, you know, go to Europe or do whatever it takes, but don't ever have the look back and go, gosh darn, I wish I would have done that. You know, when you get the opportunity, you gotta jump, and that's the hardest part. And it's hard to jump, but life's short, and you gotta have fun while you're doing it, and you gotta have it, and you just have to know that today could be your last day, or tomorrow. I mean, you never know what day is your last day, so you might as well live it up and have a good time and stay positive and just enjoy the ride, because you never know when it's over. And that is, and it's easy to say and hard to do, and we're all guilty. But if you're not having a good time and you're not taking those chances and the opportunities, you know, you might be missing out on the best thing that could ever happen to you. I bet you there was a lot of people that lost money that said that Lindsay Rosser would never leave California. Well, here I am. I've been in Colorado for 15 years and loving every minute of it. And it's only brought me closer to the sport. It's only brought me closer, you know, given me more opportunities with breakawayroping.com and coaching, and brought me to the college where I can share my knowledge and try to help mold the next generation of rodeo athletes that will take over my spot as commissioner for the Women's Rodeo World Championship, hopefully, eventually. And, you know, after, and just all those things. So if you don't kind of just put your neck out there a little bit, you might miss out on opportunities, and opportunities don't come knocking all the time.
Wow. And I mean, talk about putting your money where your mouth is. You took your own advice. You stepped up to be the WRWC commissioner. And I mean, I'm fired up right now because I'm so excited for what's going on, you know, with you and with the sport right now. You know, and just so everybody knows that's listening, if you liked what Lindsay was talking about with training horses, you should definitely check out her playlist on breakawayroping.com. And Lindsay, just thank you so much for coming on today and being my first guest. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous about today, but this was a lot of fun. I think we covered some great things people are really going to love to hear. I mean, do you have anything else just in conclusion to share with the audience?
No, well, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a talker. I could talk for hours.
I know, we could do like 7 podcasts, I feel like.
Right? Yeah, I mean, we could just keep going. But what the Equinety Network and the breakawayroping.com has done is allowed youth, it doesn't matter if it's boy or girl, just because we're females in roping, you know, nobody can learn more from Larry D than me, right? Like, I watch her videos. It's not just for beginner ropers, it's for everyone. And if you haven't got a chance to even just take a couple little sneak peeks in there and just see a few things that Trevor says, that Larry D, that Hope, that Ask, I mean, everybody that's on there, you're missing out on a chance to even if you pick up one thing, it only makes you better, right? We have to try every day to make ourselves 1% better every day. And that 3-minute video or 2-minute or 45-second video might be that one thing that you need. So it's not just for the intro ropers, the beginning ropers, it's for everyone. And I can't thank you all enough for giving me the opportunity to, you know, to spread knowledge, and it means a lot. And especially now with this with the new opportunity that the PBR and the WCRA are giving women in rodeo with the Women's Rodeo World Championship, I mean, it's going to be big, and it's only going to get bigger, and I'm only going to fight harder to make the sport better for the next generation and for this generation and for the generation before me that want to come back. And that's all that we want to do. I mean, it's last year we kept saying it was our time, but it's been our time for 30 years. It's not something that needs developed. It's been here, and it just needs to be shined. And that's what we're going to do. And we're just, I mean, we put our money where our mouth is, because 3 years of $750,000 added is a huge number. And that's the first time, thanks to the WRCA and the PBR, for doing it. And like I said, we're gonna continue to grow women in rodeo, because it's been a long time coming. And I just want everybody to get excited. And if they have questions about the nominations and how to do it, please reach out. I mean, you can Facebook message me, email me, call me. I mean, I don't care. I'm here to answer questions on anything that anybody has. So I don't know if you can tag my contact in all of this, but we're excited, and it's just going to get better. And I have to thank, kind of you guys and everybody involved for letting us have a platform to really showcase.
Awesome. All right, guys, this episode is going to come out smack in the middle of Women's History Month, and I just feel like this was such perfect timing for this episode. So thank you again, Lindsay, for coming on, and you guys are definitely going to hear more from Lindsay in the future, and can't wait to get this out to you guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Okay, wow, you guys. If this doesn't get you fired up for the future of women in rodeo, I don't know what will. I hope you guys had as much fun listening to this podcast as I did making it. And just make sure you go to teamequinety.com to check out the great products that they have, because without Equinety, this episode wouldn't have been possible. They're a company that supports breakaway roping, they support women in rodeo, and it's been a game changer for my breakaway horses. And if you want to hear more from the Breakaway Roping Journal, you can check us out at breakawayropingjournal.com. And if you're ready to take your roping to the next level, you need to be on breakawayroping.com and check out the great coaches like Lindsay Sumpter on the site. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We are so grateful for you, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks so much.